Hey guys, Brian from For-Knox Company here. So what I'm going to be doing is building a little plyometric box so that my wife can do her workouts a little bit better. As you can see here, she broke one of my bins that she was using to stand on, and I think she needs something a little bit better. So let me show you guys how I built this for her. One way to do it, lots of ways to do these things, but I just want to make her something a little bit better so she can get her workouts in. So if you guys don't know already, my wife is totally into fitness. I love it. She's been killing it. I'll even tag her in the video here just so you guys can maybe go follow her on Instagram, and you'll see she kills it. So she's been doing these pull-ups and practicing on them, and she was using this bin to stand on, and she actually broke my bin, and I know she felt kind of bad about it, but I had it here just for something extra. But I knew she needed something better. We needed a plyometric box in the gym anyways. So she's been using this, and it's good for her. The height of it is really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually build a box out of pretty much materials that I have left over from other projects, and I'm going to build it basically to this size. It already fits really good in between of our squat rack, and it's just about the right height for her to still be able to get up to the pull-up bar right here. So I'll be making the plyometric box based off this dimensions. I'm going to take this into the garage, and then we'll start cutting pieces, and we'll just kind of put this thing together the way that it goes. I'm just going to kind of build it just off my eye. I'm just going to measure it and cut it, and we'll just go for it. So basically, after measuring it, I figured out that the top of it is roughly 30 inches by 20 inches. And my height, I'm gonna go three-dimensional here. My height is 15 inches. So it's gonna be 15 inches tall, 20 inches deep, and 30 inches wide. That's gonna be the rough dimensions of this bin here. Luckily, I have plenty of scrap left over for some previous jobs that I just did, mainly building this garage that we're standing in. So I should be able to get enough pieces from all the scrap there. I kept it for a reason, knowing that I was probably gonna build some boxes or some little sheds or walls later on, so I'll be able to find the pieces that I need in there. Looks like some of those shorter ones are already pretty close to the height that I need. Let's get this out of the way. So I just ran everything through the table saw. I ran all my MDF about 15 inches because I knew that was gonna be my height all the way around. So I ran 3 or 4 pieces at 15 inches tall all the way through, and then I basically cut those down. So I need 2 sides that are 20 inches and 2 sides that are 30 inches. Again, this is really rough. I know that when I put it all together, depending on how I overlap it, it's gonna be 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch shy of those measurements, but this is just a rough box. This is basically a box to stand on, maybe jump on, so I'm gonna definitely build it reinforced. So speaking of that, the
reason I'm using some of my MDF is I know this isn't very structural when it comes to stepping on it or jumping on it, but I am going to brace the crap out of it with some 2x4s that I have. So the next step I'm gonna do now is actually build the frame that's gonna go inside of this. All of this is just gonna be basically screwed into the outside of a frame that's built out of 2x4s. So I'll show you guys next how I'm gonna actually cut those 2x4s and assemble them so that I can then screw these panels onto the outside of it. Last step will be cutting that top plate, and I don't exactly know what that measurement is yet, so I have to assemble everything first so I can then cut the final piece to cap it off. So next step, let's make that frame. So I don't know if I warned you guys about this first, but I'm building this at like 11 o'clock at night. It's here in Vegas. It's like 102 degrees in the garage, so I'm gonna be sweating and I'm gonna be kind of working around stuff I have sitting around. I'm trying to do this while my wife is sleeping so that when she wakes up on Monday to do her workout, this brand new box will be sitting there for her so she can do her workout. So I'm trying to get this done while they're all sleeping. And yeah, it's 102 degrees here in the garage if you can't see that I'm sweating. So I've decided that inside this box, if you were to look at it from the top, I'm going to basically frame each corner with 2 2x4s. That is way overkill for what this probably is. But again, this is all just scrap wood and I want to make sure this thing never breaks. Last thing I want is for myself or my wife to be jumping on it and using weights and fall through this thing. So I'm basically gonna cut a bunch of pieces at 15 inches and create these L's, put them in the corner, and I'm actually gonna screw them to the panels, and I'm gonna kind of assemble this thing as I cut the pieces. And then once I actually find out what the inner dimensions are, because I wanna make sure it's really nice and tight, I'm gonna cut these pieces here to actually fill in the walls so that the perimeter of the upper and lower of the box is all framed in. Once I have that all secured and together, I'm actually gonna put cross members, several of them, across the top, because the whole outside and the bottom is gonna be framed in really nice, and I'm gonna make sure the top is also now tied into all those and it's all secure. So that's what it's gonna kind of look like. I promise you it's gonna look a little bit better than what I just drew. All right, now that I've cut 8 pieces, 2 for each corner at 15 inches, I'm now gonna basically set these up like that in each corner. So I'm gonna build 4 of these, which means I need to drill 3 little pilot holes, which I've already marked here just to kind of show you. But I'm gonna take 4 of these pieces, I'm gonna drill 3 pilot holes, I'm gonna put in 2.5 inch screws. These are just, again, everything that I have sitting around at the garage. Because this wood is a little bit dry, I do want to put these pilot holes in there because I already know that if I drive these through there, I'm going to be splitting wood, and it's one extra step. It takes a little bit more work, but it'll be worth it because I'm not going to be splitting wood and having to cut more pieces. So I'm going to drill these pilot holes, screw them together, and I'll do a little time lapse for you so you don't have to watch 30 minutes worth of work. You can watch it maybe like 10 seconds. All right, so now I got all 4 of these corners made. Got them all built here. So I'm gonna take one of my sides and I'm gonna actually secure them to the outside like that. I'm gonna come in from the outside of the panel right here. I'm actually gonna secure it with this 1 5/8" drywall screws that I have. So I'm gonna come through 3 or 4 on the outside and secure them, and then I'll come back and do 2 cross braces right here. And once I actually find that measurement, I'm gonna cut a 2x4 piece that fits perfectly in there, and I'm actually gonna use a Craig jig and actually pocket hole and secure it all in there together. So it's gonna be nice and tight. It's gonna be way overbuilt, but like I said, it's all free wood, you know, leftover wood. So whatever, let's go for it. Already got one side completed. I secured the wood, the corner braces, like I said. I did 3 screws down each side. Tried to space them evenly. Everything's all flush, so it's gonna look nice and clean. This box, when it's all said and done, should be really clean looking. It's definitely gonna be heavy, which is good, because even though it does have a good base, you don't want these things to be tipping over if you ever jump on them and you're a little bit off or whatever. So the fact that it's gonna have some good weight to it is just gonna make it a little bit more safer, and it's gonna be more sturdy. So I have the corners secured in here. I've already taken my measurement in between. It was 13 and 1/16, so I shaved it down just perfect enough to where it would fit inside. As you can see, I did my little pocket hole right here. I just did 1 on each side. What I plan on doing is basically securing it into each side and then coming from the panel and actually securing it again with those 1 5/8" drywall screws. So this thing's gonna be glued and screwed all the way around. No glue, but lots of screws. But it's gonna be held together really well. Again, I'm overbuilding this, so I'm just kind of showing you how I'm doing it. But that's what you should expect. I'm not gonna film all of it, but I will just show you guys this one here of how I'm doing it. And then when I have it all together, I'll give you guys a little clip and a little run around after I have the whole thing kind of put together. So this is a nice tight fit. I'll be able to get that all in there and screw it together, and we'll see this thing really start coming together now. All right, guys, we are almost there. Got the whole basic thing set up. Everything cut at 15 inches tall. And I made sure each side it was 30 inches and 20 inches. I did the same overlap you can see on the sides here. I did an outside overlap. Made sure that we're square, because on this side, we also have an outside overlap that keeps this whole thing square. So even though my 2x4s might have been a little bit dry, they might have had a little bit of crown to them, because the plywood that I cut was perfectly symmetrical, as soon as I screwed it all together, it helped hold everything into square. You can see the frame I built here. Everything has a pocket hole screw holding it together on the inside. And then right along on the outside here, I have screws, about 3 or 4 across each side, all across that top rail, tying into that top support. Last step before we cap it all off is we're gonna put some cross members between here so that we give that extra strength, so that if we're jumping on it or stepping on it or we're carrying any amount of weight, this thing will have no problem taking care of it. So if you don't know this, this is a little trick you can do to actually check for square. You can measure diagonally 36.5, and then you cross diagonally 36.5. So this thing is perfectly square because the measurement from one corner to the other is exactly the same as one corner to the other. It's one way that you can check for square, and the reason that I did that is because I'm going to be lazy and I'm gonna flip this. I'm gonna trace it on this piece of wood that it's sitting on, and then I'll actually just cut it out and go from there. But I just wanted to make sure that this thing was actually square before I did that, because if I really had to, I was gonna try to squeeze it one way or the other and make sure that it was square and cut a square piece to actually top it off. But this thing has came out really well. Everything is lining up perfectly, and I'm just gonna actually trace it on the big piece of MDF that I have here, or the particle board that I have here, and we'll just go from there. I'm just gonna keep it easy for me. It's 1:20 in the morning, so we are just flying by the seat of our pants. All right, so there you have it. I got my top cut out. Everything's lined up pretty good. I have probably a little bit of overhang that I want to trim after I secure it. But I'd rather have it be a little bit too big than too small. So I'm gonna actually put in screws around the perimeter. I've already marked here on the sides where my studs are, and I'm gonna put a couple down here in the middle, just to make sure this thing is nice and secure, and then when you're landing on it, it doesn't sound too hollow, so everything is nice and tight. So I'm gonna get this whole thing screwed together. I'm gonna trim off these sides, and then we will be almost done, because I got one thing at the end that I want to actually add. It's gonna be a little icing on top. Just in case you thought this thing was going somewhere, we have 24 screws going into the top, all the way around the perimeter, down each stud here, 24 screws just in the top. This is going nowhere. All right, so like I said, there was one other thing I wanted to add, and the icing on the cake is gonna be actually a little handle on each side, or a cutout right here in the middle on either side, so that you can actually pick it up and move it easier, because I know my wife has all the muscles and she's been working out really hard. She's super strong, but you know, I need something to help me move this thing around because it's gonna be heavy. So I'm actually gonna cut out a nice little hole on either side to kind of create two little handles. I'm gonna take this 1-inch Forstner bit. I'm actually gonna drill a little hole here, a little drill hole here. Then I'm gonna connect it with my jigsaw. I'm gonna connect the two holes from the outside, and then I'll sand it all down, and I'll show you guys what it looks like after. So after I cut these holes here, you can see we can get a nice little grip right there. I drilled the two holes and then I just connected it. Just two little straight cuts. Last thing I wanted to do is actually take some sandpaper, sand everything down just by hand, just kind of make sure all those rough edges are off. And then come back with the whole entire thing and actually run over it and round over all these edges. This can be a little bit rough, and the last thing I want to do is be mid-workout and get a splinter. So just gonna run over this whole thing with the sander, and you can see it's eating up my sandpaper here, but just went over it real quick just to make sure the whole thing's smooth and there's no burrs of wood or anything that can catch while you're out there working out. So we're almost done. All right, guys, that's it. Only took me maybe about 3 hours or so if you take
trying to film all this and everything, but this thing is solid. It's about 15, maybe 15 and a half inches tall. Got these nice little handles in here in case we want to move it. Fits in between of our squat rack there. And then when she wants to stand up and do her pull-ups, or if we want to do any type of squat movements, and we want to do a seated squat, or maybe we want to do some plyometrics where we're stepping up and stepping down, this thing's got it. I mean, it's solid, way overbuilt, all made from wood that I had left over from other projects. So not too hard. Definitely, like I said, I overbuilt it, but I want it to last. I want it to be able to hold a lot of weight in case I step on there with something, or in case she steps on there with something. I don't want this thing breaking. Also, I just kind of built it as I went, and I knew that if I at least overbuilt it a little bit, it'd be okay. So all the extra bracing, 2x4s in all the corners, 2x4s, crossing, screws all over the place, pocket hole screws, everything. I had it, so I just figured I'd do it, and I just wanted to show you guys how I built this. And sometimes people ask me, how do you get stuff done? How do you do all these things? I just make the time. I mean, everybody's sleeping right now. It's about 2:30 in the morning. It might be a little bit crazy, but when you're doing stuff that you love and you get into something like that and you start building, you just lose track of time, and it's okay. I used to work graveyard a lot of times, so being up late at night is kind of like when I get into my rhythm. So I've been wanting to build this for a long time. I know this will mean a lot to her. She's been killing it on her workouts, and I know this is going to help her get those pull-ups and get any of those other workouts that come in when we need a step. So I wanted to do this for her while she was sleeping. She has no idea that I made this for her. So tomorrow morning she's going to get up, do her workout, and she's going to see this thing here, and it's going to be great. I know she's going to love it. So hope you guys like this video. Just something that I did. Again, there's a million ways you can build these boxes. I'll probably be building some other boxes in the future, different heights and sizes, but like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next build.